Alright, so like I said at the end of the last video, the goal for this part 4 is to combine the previous 3 parts into a single program. So we're going to greet the user, so we're going to take the code from part 1, where we get their name, and then we're going to use a loop, and inside that loop we're going to have an if else statement. And when I say combine, I really mean like we're going to literally copy and paste the things that we already wrote, and we're going to pull them into a single program, right? There's no reason to reinvent a wheel that we've already created to do all the stuff we want to do. So let's just go for it. So first off, we're going to greet the user. So I'm literally going to go back to the first part. You can't see me copying and pasting because I'm doing it from a different file, but I'm literally going to go back and just copy and paste that. So we're going to ask the person their name. What is your name? Hey name, how's it going? So the next thing is, I mean, right, like simple. So the next thing is we're going to have a loop to keep asking what shape they want to draw. So for that, and then, so use the loop to keep asking, and then use the if else statement to actually draw the shape. So that actually means we're not necessarily going to combine these in the order that we already had. I'm going to copy and paste the while loop first, because that's just, to me, that is just a little bit simpler. So I'm going to pull that code up again. I know you can't see it, but it's here. So I've got my option and my while loop, and I'm sorry for the clicking from my mouse, I'm going to try not to do that, but so option, while option does not equal stop. There's no reason to change that. Right, because we still want them to type stop when we're done. So that's fine. The only thing that's going to change is instead of always doing this to-be.circle and then to-be.forward, this, inside of this loop, is where we're going to put in the if else statements that we used for part 2 of this lab. So there it was a little bit different. So in the example that I gave you, I used the variable name shape instead of option. So we do have a little bit of, I don't want to call it incompatibility exactly, but, you know, something that we are going to have to address. So, and we're also going to have to make sure that these are all indented inside the while loop. So you can highlight, if you ever need to indent something as a group, you can highlight the whole thing and then just hit the tab button and it'll indent for you. So here we have a problem because we have option here for the while loop, and then shape to control the if else statement. And actually down here, yeah, there is no else, and that's fine. I'm actually going to leave it like that. So we need to reconcile that, and since I like to choose the laziest way out, basically shape is used 3 times and option is used twice, so I'm going to change, actually they're both used 3 times, but shape is shorter, so I'm going to change shape option to shape in all the places where it shows up, which includes that input statement all the way at the bottom. So make sure that you're using the same variable for all of these things. Right, and then I'm just going to add the input instruction to type stop to stop, or R, S, or T to create a shape. And really that's it. That's all you needed to do. So I'm still setting shape to not be anything in particular to start off with. So it's not going to equal stop, so we are going to go in that while loop. And the first time we go around, since shape is not R, S, or T, it's just not going to do anything, and we're going to jump straight to the part where the user is asked to input a, to either type stop or to pick a shape. And so let's just run it and see what happens. I actually haven't tested this, so there might be an error, I'm not sure yet. But it looks like we're doing okay so far. So it's asking for my name, so I'm going to say Amber. And then type stop or R, S, or T. I'm going to type T for triangle, and drew a triangle. Alright, cool. I'm going to try, I just want to make sure that you can see this. Sorry, I forgot that the thing was hidden. So drew that triangle, and next I'm going to type R And it's kind of interesting because it actually drew, you can see how it drew the rectangle off the end of the triangle, because that's where it was facing at the time, so that totally makes sense. And so if I were to then draw a square now, it would kind of draw that like along, it actually goes out of bounds, so it's kind of interesting, but it's alongside the rectangle. And I can just keep doing this, drawing, you know, triangles and all kinds of stuff until I get bored, which is going to be fairly soon. But you kind of see how you can just keep going, but I'd like to stop now, so I'll type in stop, and the program ends, and that's all there is to it. So I realized that I made that seem probably a lot simpler than you found it. That's not an insult. I've been programming for a long time. And I developed this lab, so I kind of knew the answer in advance. But I do want to stress that, okay, first of all, if it, you know, took you a little while to figure out how all these pieces fit together, that is completely fine. The main thing is to just figure out, like, well, what pieces do I have? What pieces do I not have, and how do they all fit together? How can I make this work? And then just look at the error messages and like carefully think through, you know, the kinds of problems that you're having, what's working, what's not, and can you go through the code and break it down to get something that does work? So I don't know. That's all we had to show you for this. I hope you did have some fun with this, and you've gotten kind of a sense of how programming works, in the sense that, you know, you start with a problem, you find a small piece that you can solve, and then you add to it and you add to it until eventually you have a fairly decent sized, you know, set of instructions. This code that we ended up with here has 43 lines of code in it, which is, well, okay, there's comments and stuff at the top, and there's a lot of blank space, but that's not a small amount of code, but it's code that you wrote in small pieces as you went along, and that makes it hopefully easier to see, right? You don't have to know the entire shape of the entire program all at once if you can break it down into small pieces, and I think that's the main thing we'd like you to take away from this lab. I hope you learned a little bit about programming, and I hope you had fun with this assignment. Bye!